Well, this is cast on fails using a garter carriage for ribbing and a bad two-color tuck. This is made on a KH930 and please enjoy the humor. I use an index card to write down all of my stuff. I then start my cast-ons. It took me 3 tries to get these cast-ons to work. Yes, I'm human. It doesn't always work. But at least I'm not willing to edit these out for you guys. You finally get to hear my voice. You can actually make out the words I'm saying in in my silence. Aww. Take 3. Okay, 3rd time's the charm. Everything's lined up. Looking good. I'm going to put on my weights. Bringing all my needles forward. Aha, here's where I remember to put on the weights. And now I get to knit across. I transferred the last needle over because the project I was knitting was only 16 left and 16 right. But in order to do that cast on, I needed 17 left and 16 right. I knit about 10 rows of waste yarn before I switched to the garter carriage settings. Snip my yarn. Swap my yarn, grab my garter carriage, and put it on the machine. I'm now inputting my numbers. I'm pressing step, CE, putting in the number, and then step again, double checking. Before I can do the cast on row for the garter carriage, I have to push the Memo button. I then bring the garter carriage all the way up to where my work is, and then I put in the yarn. I use the settings from my manual, nothing special. Yes, I know I could have used my ribber for this, but some people wanted to see a garter carriage in action. So here it is in action. Doing its cast on row. The downfall to the garter carriage is it takes an incredible amount of time to go 1 row. But it's worth it. I'm now going to put on my edge markers. That'll make it easier for seaming when I go to actually finish the project. I now turn off the garter carriage, move it over to put the other edge weight on. Then I will reset my garter carriage so that it's doing the proper stitches instead of just casting on. And I'll make sure my yarn isn't caught. And I will also make sure that I alter the number of rows that the garter carriage is going to knit. It's a lot of fussing, but it's worth it. It's quite a balancing act when you have a broken wrist. And there we go. As soon as I am sure that the garter carriage is doing what it's supposed to do, I have enough time to go away, make a coffee, come back down and watch it do the finishing rows. It takes an incredible amount of time to do 10 small rows. You can see in the video that I'm extremely bored and finding other things to fidget with while I wait. I even added some more weight to my little tiny cast-on comb. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Waiting, waiting, waiting. We're finally on the last 2 rows. Takes over a minute and a half for those last 2 rows to be knit by the garter carriage. As you can see, I am not the most patient person in the universe. Waiting, waiting, still waiting, waiting, still waiting. Still waiting. Oh, we're finally done that last part of the row. Thank goodness. Okay, now I'm doing the settings for the 2-color tuck. As you can see, I'm pressing step, CE, the number, step again, double checking. Satisfied with myself. I forgot to reset my row counter when I took out my edge markers, sorry. Didn't even give it a second thought. I have the carriage in KC1. I've inserted my yarn, making sure it doesn't get caught anywhere. And I'm about to knit across. It seems jerky, it's really not. I'm just going really, really slow and really, really careful, watching what's going on. I didn't want to make a mistake. Pushed in my tuck buttons, went across, and here's where I make my mistake. And I'll explain that in a couple seconds. I'm not happy with myself over this one, but I really learned a lot yesterday. What did I do wrong? Well, I managed to change the yarns too early. I should have knit in yarn 1 for 3 rows. Row 1 is your foundation row. Row 2, you push in the tuck buttons and knit across. Row 3, you knit across. As you go, the display will say yarn 2. After you finish that row, then you put in your second color. So when the carriage was on the right hand side of the bed is when I should have put in yarn number 2. Which I didn't do. Which is sad because it could have been so much better. I knit the entire piece before I realized what I did wrong. That's the downfall to 2-color tuck. You don't realize you made a mistake until you are several rows in. Another thing of merit to note is where did I put the yarns when I took them out of the carriage? Well, the main yarn that I was working with went on the right hand side of the bed into the yarn rest, and the secondary yarn went into the left hand, and that is because of where they are on the tension mast. That is a great way to keep the yarns from tangling, and works like a dream. You also want to make damn sure when you're doing two-color tuck that you remember to close the door on your carriage. If you don't, you run the risk of losing your yarn as you knit across, and that'll make you sad. Even the piece that is a mistake is still very pretty, but it's just not perfect. I will be knitting another piece. It'll actually be the sleeves on this sweater I'm making, and you will see how to do two-color tuck properly. I'm going to actually bring the camera in closer so you can see the settings and get a better idea on what two-color tuck means, how to set it up properly, and how to get the results that you want to get. Thank you again for sticking through all of this mess, the entire 12 minutes that this video took. It actually took over 3 hours to knit this entire video. So, have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.